This is a video I've been thinking about doing for a while now. But with every thought to do it, comes the reason not to. I hesitate every time. That maybe this isn't something I should talk about, rather someone else. Or perhaps this should just be kept between the people who know and were affected. But it's something that even now, I could never get over. Something that has always stuck with me. And maybe this is the only way I can finally rest my thoughts on it. I suppose this video is probably pretty selfish in that regard, but I don't want to think that that's the case. So in short terms, yeah, we're talking Doom again. Some of y'all might be surprised I'm covering Doom mods again. Most of y'all probably don't know I used to talk about Doom mods. And yes, much like with most of the things I cover, I talked about the things that not many people would know about. In this case, the Doom mods that I knew bigger YouTubers would never bother with. The true gold that lied underneath the beautiful city of monsters and gore, I suppose. Doom still, and always will be, one of my favorite games. It's the bar I set when I play FPS games, but know from a gameplay standpoint, most will never overcome. I'll be playing some FPS multiplayer game like, yeah, I enjoy this game, but it's not as good as Doom. This game sure is fun, but it's not Doom. Narrow-minded, but y'all know I love nearly everything. It can be said that there's FPS games that do things that Doom can't, just as much as I can say that there are non-FPS games that are much closer to Doom than games that share the same genre. And that's because of Doom mods. Doom mods can transform the game into really anything. Do I want to play a fantasy RPG with classes, skills, and equipment? Well, sweet, I can play Doom. A super fun roguelike with tons of death? Hell yeah, let's play some Doom. Throw an RPG mod on there and we can get really esoteric with it. Dodgeball with the gamers? I'm all ball. A slow tactical shooter with realistic mechanics? Yeah, Doom can be that. A first person PvP RTS? Sounds like some ZDoom wars to me. A horror murder mystery online game that's still better than every asymmetrical horror game ever made? Hell yeah. Teaching schoolers why I'm the hotshots golf champ? Buddy, you already know. Screw it, let's play Mortal Kombat. Let's play Resident Evil 4 with others. Hell, these mods even have add-on mods to them. And we aren't even talking about games made in the Doom engine, which, trust me, I want to talk about. Doom isn't everything, but it can be anything. But when I do start to fall down the colorful, fun rabbit hole of Doom mods and the people behind them, I think of one person who may not have been the reason I got into them, but was one of the coolest showcases in what Doom can do and be. The person who really opened my eyes when it came to some of the things that can be done in Doom. Someone quite honestly ahead of the curve with eyes of future and fun. An excellent and inspiring being overall. And that person was none other than Kate Fox. Born on what will forever be known as Kate Day, July 9th, Kate Fox, in my opinion, is a forgotten legend of the Doom community. She found out about ZDoom back in 2002, which, wow, take that in. There's posts from her dating back 20 years ago. And from the beginning, she was there to help out others and have fun. The self-proclaimed, aspiring, adorable cutester that wants to make everything okay. She contributed a number of programming features into GZDoom. Her contribution to the specialized scripting language known as Decorate forever, even if not majorly, immortalizes her existence within the advanced Doom source ports that still use that language to this day, such as GZDoom and GZDoom. A member of Team Eternity, which created the Eternity engine used by some Doom projects. Hell, even did a lot of contributions to that Doom RPG mod I mentioned earlier. She was kind of everywhere. And with all the people she helped, I wouldn't be surprised if her name was invisibly marked in so many more projects. But when she wasn't helping everyone, where we can really see the brilliance of fun in her design is through her projects. While she may not have many, Kate Fox's mods would often completely transform Doom into something unique. And today, I want to talk about the absolute creativity of these mods. In preparation for talking about the actual subject for the video, Project Kate. Hopefully I have mostly everything from her, everything that was at least at some point posted. Her GZDoom wiki page doesn't have all of her projects, and you gotta do a bit of digging to find them. This is very unknown stuff. So sit down and get ready to have your lids flipped, because we're about to get into the history of a really dope person and some of the incredible Doom stuff they made. Teleportal. Released in 2007, and I'm gonna be honest, this one rocks harder than I thought it would. It's as you would imagine, the portal gun, but in Doom. Giving the player a gun fitting in the pistol slot that can fire portals. It's not as wild as in Portal, where you could see the area you were going to through the portal, and it doesn't cling to walls or floors. It really just spawns 2 teleporters that players can travel between. But there's a ton of useful things you can do with them. Is there a monster closet coming up? Set up an escape plan. Use portals to pull off some sick moves of traveling between enemies and zipping around the map. Tired of spending 10 minutes just to choose a map pack and compendium? Portal has you covered. This mod rules! The portals themselves do damage when fired, but not when active. It's not a ton of damage, but they do pierce. The blue portal freezes while the red doesn't. And while it's fun to run around using it as a weapon, it very quickly ends when I realize the player only gets 10 shots. After that, they're back to playing Doom. While that may seem restrictive, I think this mod's intention of pulling back allows for a more balanced experience. I can see myself playing a map pack with this mod and using it more conservatively in certain scenarios. Like maybe I'll put a portal by the red key door and then teleport back to it once I get the key card. The player has an item in their inventory that they can activate to remove all currently placed portals. And no, this doesn't refund them or anything. I was kind of confused on refilling the portal gun after using it. Like, it can't just be 10 shots, right? Maybe health drops? No. Computer area map? Nah. Finishing the level? No. As it turns out, there's ammo for it that can be found alongside regular ammo placed in maps, making this gun pretty compatible with most map packs. Although I appreciate the thoughtful approach of this implementation of the portal gun, I would be curious about a version where the 2 portals were set to keybinds, no ammo restriction, and the shots themselves did no damage. I know part of the idea of the portal gun is, well, the gun, but having to slowly pull it out and put it away restricts the usage of it to be more of a setup tool. Not really worth pulling out on the fly to get out of sticky situations, which I think could be interesting in its own right. Of course, due to the nature of the portal guns, it's very possible to softlock yourself, shooting the portals and sending the self to unintentional locations. Like, shoot, now I'm softlocked. Well, I mean, I could just shoot another red portal, but if I couldn't, or accidentally remove the portals by slipping on a puddle of mulk or something and slamming into my use inventory key, I'd be screwed. But of course, this is Doom, so I could always just quickly fly or no clip out of these scenarios. On the bigger side, this can be used to pretty easily sequence break maps and reach unintended locations, which makes it a tad less fun on map packs you've never played, but on the other hand, opens a brand new depth on maps you're familiar with. Could be a fun way to speedrun a map pack you know, but I feel like the most optimal thing that could be done with it would probably just be placing one portal at the exit door to teleport back to once you get the key or something. These portals may be fine in the game Portal, but Doom is too fast paced that if this mod wanted to keep up with the pace of it, the portals would have to be instant. Though admittedly, the slower pace of it makes it feel smarter. I legit feel cool when I pull out a portal gun and do a trick with it. Feels like I just pulled out a gadget from my vest ready to perform a Bond move. But still, if this mod shows anything, it's the creative mind of Kate Fox. This mod was released back in 2007, and what it creates is something that drastically changes the way one plays Doom, and invites them to be creative. It's simple, but there's depth here, and it's fun. That's something we're going to be seeing a lot with Kate Fox. Very out there mods that create new gameplay experiences when compared to the typical map, weapon, or monster packs. I know what y'all are thinking, Spacey, quit out the DS emulator, we're talking about Doom here. And no, this is Pokemon Doom Titanium Edition. I'm surprised this mod came out so early from my repertoire, because I consider this to be up there with the coolest Doom mods. This is the Kate Fox mod I played the most back then. It is Pokemon meets Doom in one of the raddest ways. We got monster catching, leveling, a shop system. I've already mentioned this mod back in my Pokemon Doom mods video, but here's how it works. The player starts by choosing a starter Pokemon, the Pokemon here being Doom monsters. Despite what the title map may make you think, there's only technically one starter programmed, the Imp for fire. The other two will just give zombie men, and you're gonna want to get that Imp because it's broken as hell. The player must play through levels using their Pokemon to battle with. There's no guns. You have an infinite number of Pokeballs and can have a full party of 6 monsters. Much like a normal Pokemon, you need to throw your empty slotted Pokeball at low HP Pokemon in order to catch them, adding that Pokemon to your party. But due to this being a first person shooter, there's a whole new can of strategy in terms of where to position your Pokemon to fight. Alongside this, every Pokemon has types, with some Pokemon dual typing and types having strengths and weaknesses to other types. You may think that a chain gun guy can easily beat an Imp, but in this mod, throwing out a chain gunner in that matchup is an instant L. It really makes you rethink what you've learned from Doom when you see a Hell Knight get absolutely folded by an Imp, and can make same type matchups take a while. Chain Gunners also got nerfed to only have burst fire so they can't just stun lock enemies. So this mod's all about reacting to enemy formations with your own, and I think that's so cool. One of the big mods that got me into Doom modding was GZDoom Wars, because I always loved watching the monsters fight each other. It's why I like the RPG mods where I can summon entities. I think there's something neat about monster raising in a first person shooter like this. Also, I must say, I adore all the added effects. To the monsters getting new attack effects, to all the different ball throw animations. It's fun details like that which always made Kate Fox mods stand out to me. Pokeballs have an alt fire, shooting this beam out. This beam is used to recall a Pokemon, holding it on them for 3 seconds, but this is also one of the player's best defensive tools, as using this beam will stun and slightly damage enemy Pokemon. This gives the player some action in battle as well, being able to support their own Pokemon by stunning the enemy ones. Besides this, their other defensive tools involve pushing entities alongside catching a Pokemon. Even if the catch fails, it gets the monster out of the way for a bit, and if the monster breaks free, they'll no longer be aggroed. While that may make catching seem easy, there's a period after a Pokemon escapes where it's immune to the Pokeball, it'll go right through it, so you can't just spam catch them, they'll kick your ass. Pokemon can level up as well, gaining XP from dealing damage. I think the only stats raised through leveling are HP and AP. AP is sort of like the MPPP. It determines whether or not Pokemon can use their attacks. For example, at 0 AP, imps can no longer throw their fireballs, though AP can be regenerated while stored in their Pokeball, or by use of an ether item. Items are the other way that players can support their Pokemon in battle. We start with a decent amount of ethers and potions, which restore Pokemon AP and HP respectively, but also the Poke Laptop. This brings us to the shop menu. Yes, we're still playing Doom. Back then, I had never seen this kind of stuff done in a mod. As far as I'm concerned, Kate Fox was an inventive, technical wizard. Here at the shop, we're presented with all the items. Items range from the aforementioned healing items, to ones that cure status effects that can be inflicted on Pokemon, defensive items to inflict status effects or reduce enemies' HP with, revives, temporary stat boost with the X attacks and the like, alongside Pokeballs such as Heal Balls, Great Balls, y'all know. Every tier of ball has a higher catch rate, and are activated by using the ball item over one of your empty slots. This will give you the ball until you throw it, and either succeed or fail to catch a Pokemon, so it's still possible to switch to other balls without losing your currently upgraded Pokeball. Money can be gained from defeating enemy Pokemon, alongside replacing items on maps. Weapon pickups are typically replaced by Pokeballs, while smaller items are money. So if everything's replaced, how does the player heal? Natural regen over time, which may sound modern and out of taste for Doom, but I think it's a good idea. The player has to worry about their Pokemon enough, and it encourages them to step in front of and protect their Pokemon. This isn't a game where you just throw out your Pokemon, run away, and wait for them to defeat everyone. Nah, you need to be proactive, dodging while healing your Pokemon and stunning enemies. You're still playing Doom, you're still in the fight. Items can be used on Pokemon in the field, or if you're highlighting that Pokemon by having their ball currently selected, but the former will take priority over the latter when using an item. While the player starts with some pretty low health, they level up alongside their Pokemon, due to a mechanic called average level. The player's level is the average level of all their Pokemon, meaning that catching weaker Pokemon can cause the player to level down and have less HP, while doing an Ironmon run can actually be pretty viable until you start getting hard countered by ghost-type specters. I'm sure average level is also what determines the level of enemy Pokemon in a map. Little pro tip from your monster Spacey: start the game off by selling all your ethers and go in on potions. Having a Pokemon fall in combat will force the player to use one of their revives to bring them back, or wait until finishing the level, as everyone is fully healed at level start. With how easy your Pokemon can get folded, even when several levels higher than enemy Pokemon, it's very easy to get into a scenario where everyone is knocked out and you're kinda screwed. This mod has some nice quality of life things I enjoy. For example, if I don't know where my Pokemon are, they show up on the map so I can go and retrieve them. Or I can rearrange which Pokemon are in which slot. I like sorting them as if they're Doom weapons, so if I have a Chain Gunner, I'd bind them to slot 4, or if I had a Shotgunner, I'd put them on my 3 keybind as if I was just pulling out a shotgun. It's a good way to remember, come on. Players can also semi-control their monsters, telling them where to go or who to attack. I was kinda sad that coming back to this mod for this video, I noticed a lot more of the grievances that I have with Pokedoom. Sometimes the AI for the Pokemon just breaks and they won't attack. Like, I low-key had this Spectre in this maze with all these other Pokemon and it just wouldn't attack, which caused me to leave it behind, with no way to recall it without running in and dying. As in this mod, monsters won't attack your Pokemon until your Pokemon strikes first. Maybe I'm just getting more impatient, but this time around I wasn't really a fan on the timer to recall. I get the idea, it adds risk to recalling a Pokemon and punishes you for doing it, as your Pokemon is stunned while being recalled, leaving it open to attack. But after I finish a fight where I throw all my Pokemon out, it gets pretty exhausting having to slowly collect everyone for the next fight. Once again, this pace just doesn't match up with Doom. It takes way longer than it should to clear maps, and at some point I really just began to wish I had a gun to shoot these monsters. But maybe this just goes to show that Kate had a different mindset when playing this game, and I respect that. I guess a similar mod with that concept I'm talking about would probably be something like Familiar Doom, which is a cool mod about taking care of and leveling a solo partner, but that's kind of off topic. I also don't like how the Poke Laptop stops the music to play its own song. Yeah, it's charming, but that wears off fast when every time you leave the shop it resets the level's music. And with the gameplay often being fight monsters, use potions, gain money, open shop to buy more potions after every fight, it kinda adds to the tedium. Also could do without having every item already in the inventory, meaning mashing the inventory keys just to get to the items I already have. I'm sure there's a coding reason this had to be done, it's just that typically with GZDoom, the only items that show up are the ones you currently have. This mod is pretty map pack dependent. Like, teleporters into monster rooms can really mess you up, alongside cramped maps, as you need room to actually spawn the monster. Alongside any map packs that use custom monsters, I mean it still works, but these monsters can be rather unbalanced. I would love to do multiplayer with this mod sometime. I don't think there's any form of PvP, but co-op would be cool. It's easy to tell monsters apart thanks to the swirling Pokeballs above their head, which matches the color of the player they belong to. And maybe having a bunch of Pokemon trainers throwing out monsters could be fun. One thing I'd really like to see is Kate Fox posted a little guide on adding monsters to the mod. This would allow for custom monsters to be compatible. I remember trying this when I was younger long ago, but unsurprisingly my silly butt didn't quite understand decorate. But it doesn't seem that hard. I mean, I tried again now and I still couldn't do it, but I would love if people made compatibility patches with monster randomizer mods for Pokedoom Titanium. Having new monsters and the like would really spice up this mod. I would do it if I knew how to. I really hope someday someone does it. I guess on the bright side, it still works with the mods that just change the skins of the enemies. So I can still run this mod with like the Super Mario Doom mod. I knew monster mods wouldn't work, so I tried things that messed with monsters, such as corruption cards or champions, and while they technically worked, upon catching any of the altered monsters, they lose their unique features. Which sucks, because that's actually a pretty cool idea to be able to catch monsters with like rare traits. But it doesn't work, and would probably take a lot of time to get working. It's just kinda sad that there isn't much for add-ons when it comes to Pokedoom Titanium. For what this mod is, I'm kinda shocked how slept on it is. It's Pokemon in Doom, and it's pretty damn good. Yeah, it can be a little slow paced and tedious, but it's still pretty unique. And I mean, isn't Pokemon slow paced? And I do think it's still fun. And just like with the Teleportal mod, it's Doom in a very different way. Like, now it's a real-time strategy game about managing a party of characters. This is still a mod I go back to nowadays. There's a charm to just grinding a Cacodemon to become overpowered and stomp all enemies in its way. Though screwing around with other mods, I noticed a lot of unused items and things. This mod was put on hold for what is now permanently. I remember seeing posts from Kate that I can no longer find about newer features being implemented. Maybe I'm just making it up. And there was this one mystery dungeon ass thing she was doing. I don't know if this is still Pokedoom or something else, but whatever this was, I don't have it. Error Doom. So this mod is based off a game mod for Serious Sam called Parse Error. Booting it up, we're given a menu with a variety of things to customize. Enemy multipliers, player speed, health, enemy replacements. I think the starting weapon of this mod being a chain gun with an alt fire that rapid launches missiles sets the tone for it pretty well. Don't bother wasting your time playing this on normal maps. Take this mod and boot up some slaughter maps. For the non-doomies, slaughter maps are levels boasting large numbers of enemies. It's quite a favorite for mods like these, which if you haven't been able to tell yet, makes the player super powerful. I think it was the moment where I picked up the triple chain gun where I became sold on this mod. And yes, the triple chain guns can all fire missiles. It's surprisingly satisfying. Besides this are the twin rocket launchers with a homing alt fire, the auto super shotty, a throwable bomb that explodes into other bombs, and a BFG that just launches bowling balls, with an alt fire that's just this massive ball that you won't even see unless if you're playing on an open map. There's some power-ups too, such as the Neon Cat one, an Always Angry one where you get this Hexen Axe and a dash ability and just go around slashing things up. I found a Kate bomb. This purple fox icon is very synonymous with Kate Fox, if y'all haven't realized yet. You can use this bomb with a hotkey. It causes a screen shake and a flash, but it doesn't seem to actually do anything. I'd assume this is supposed to be some sort of screen clear. Of course, these mods were made for much older versions of GZDoom, so it's not surprising if some things don't work as intended. To help keep up the intense pace of the mod, there is no ammo. Any ammo drops are returned to the player as armor, which I think is a pretty neat idea to keep the player running. Some new enemies are present too. A lot of them just seems like recolors, but some more notable ones are me randomly getting bombarded by mini rainbow pinkies known as Skittles, or Archfiles being called summoners, not reviving but summoning in new monsters to mow down. It is your typical overpowered mod, but I'd say the features to allow multiplying monster spawns alongside other settings does add some uniqueness to it. There's something appreciable to how simple it is, full of recolors and just reusing sprites multiple times for weapons. I mean, it's fun. It's Doom, and that's hard to make unfun. The weapons are goofy, the vibe is silly, but much like all overpowered weapon mods, it gets very exhausting to me very quickly. I was just never a fan of these kinds of mods. Like, you play it for a bit, and you get it, right? But I can kind of see this and imagine sort of just waking up some morning and finding this in 2011, like, cool. Just downloading it, getting some friends on, and messing around for a few levels. I don't know if that makes sense. There's just something pure about this mod. A_random mod. This mod is so cool. I feel like this mod just embodies Kate Fox. I'm not going to act like I know her, but always kind of got the feeling of quirky randomness, and this mod is all random. Kate Fox describes it as the most GZDoom mod GZDoom has to offer. I can just imagine she was just sitting around thinking of all the goofy things and just constantly adding them into this mod. If y'all have ever played any of those Chaos mods, like Super Mario 64 Chaos Edition, or watch any of those crowd control streams, that's kind of what this is. According to Kate Fox, A_random mod was modeled after Chaos Percent from GTA Vice City. Basically, you'll just be playing Doom when random scripts and modifiers activate, causing all sorts of weird things. The level will suddenly go rainbow, enemies will become chickens and pigs, you'll kill an imp and it drops a super shotgun, everyone starts ascending, enemies will go flying when defeated, your HP will get set to 5, the music in the level will randomly change, the game will crash. Okay, I don't think that last one is intentional, but I will say the potentially frequent crashing can take away from the experience. Once again, this mod was made with an older version of GZDoom in mind. It's a really cool twist on Doom gameplay, of just trying to survive while all these chaotic things are happening, and never knowing just what is activated. I mean, the player can use a code to show the current effects that are being activated and for how long, but there's a certain surprise to not knowing what you'll encounter next. And it does seem like there is a large variety to what can happen and how the player can react. Imagine defeating an enemy and it just drops a keycard to skip half the level. Like, this seems balanced enough to go through megawatts and still see fresh stuff in later maps. There's definitely some replayability if you don't find the game unfun when it randomly freezes you, suddenly resurrects every enemy on the map, takes your weapons away, or teleports you back to the beginning of the level. It's kind of like playing Doom, but there's someone constantly over your shoulder like, wouldn't it be funny if this happened, or this, or this? Kate also recommends a code that allows you to respawn in single player, which might be necessary when you load into a map with 5 HP. One odd thing about this mod is that it changes the pistol the player starts with. The pistol no longer auto-fires, so you have to mash it, and it does more damage. Like, way more damage. It's like double damage. And it's never stated anywhere in the mod description, and I don't think this was a random effect because it seems to always be active. Pretty odd. I think another thing I noticed are certain enemies doing a little hop before dying. I guess this is just that sort of Kate Fox flair and personality she adds to mods. Once again, This is just such a dope idea for a mod, and executed so well. I feel like this stuff really could have only came from Kate. There are chaotic mods out there, but there's a sort of controlled chaos here. It's creativity mixed with her ability to program. You could really get the feeling just how excited she was, adding in all these features of GZDoom, and just this being a really fun showcase of what GZDoom can do. It breathes her energy. Okay, so this is interesting. There was this project known as the Doom World Mega Project 2013, and it was a collaborative map pack between a bunch of people. Anyone could submit a map, and the final mod ended up getting split into 3 different mods depending on what engine that it's supported by. Version L for vanilla source ports, B for boom source port, and Z for ZDoom and UDMF. Map 9 of version Z marks what is known as the only map Kate Fox has ever made for Doom, or at least has been publicly released. Language barrier. Y'all might think that coming off what we've previously looked at, a map might not be too interesting, but you have no idea. So I haven't played through this pack yet, but the first map, besides having an awesome rendition of the ceremony theme from Secret of Mana I'm gonna have to snatch, also had like 800 monsters. Like, shoot, is this a slaughter map pack? I cut in line to get to the point by going to Kate Fox's map, which is map 09. Before showing y'all it, I would like to read out Kate Fox's comments on the map from her submission to it on the Doom World forums. First off, build time 100 minutes. Anyways, the monsters don't speak your language and you don't know how to speak demon. That one imp that was pointing at the sky before being crushed by a giant Hello Kitty themed refrigerator did seem somewhat friendly though, even though you couldn't understand a thing he said. Oh well, just go about your usual business and you'll be fine. So yeah, standard affair for Kate Fox by now. And don't worry, the actual map carries over that same level of random goofiness. We start off in a blue tunnel. If y'all can't see anything, disable your gosh darn flux and things will become clear. The music of the main menu theme from My Little Pony, Fighting is Magic, which, for one, slaps hard. Like, talk about a mega jammer. Kate Fox was a pretty big My Little Pony fan, and Fighting is Magic was this 2D fighting game fan project that got cancelled, but the creators eventually went on to take that sort of idea and make Them Fighting Herds, which, like, wow. I know this game quite a bit. It's a pretty known indie fighting game in the FGC scene, and I knew the story that it was originally an MLP fighting game, but dang, I didn't think I'd be connecting this to Kate Fox and Doom for this video. That's pretty cool. Okay, back to the map. I grab a super shotgun when suddenly the walls drop as revenants appear. I fight them, but then notice that they're fighting each other, which usually doesn't happen. I later realized that these revenants aren't even programmed to fight you. Is that supposed to be commentary on the language barrier? Regardless, moving on, I find a blue key card. Some pinkies spawn behind me, but instantly die. To my left is a red key card door, and right a yellow switch. Going to the exit door up ahead takes me to the, well, exit. However, this, alongside the chainsaw on the side, is a troll, as when interacted with, the walls will open and the room will fill with explosive barrels and a spider mastermind, forcing the player to die. Instead, the player needs to grab the blue keycard and head back to the start of the level, where the blue keycard door is. Behind this door is a red keycard and a yellow keycard. Grabbing the red one will spawn in an archvile, which seemingly dies instantly. Grabbing the yellow one spawns a spider mastermind in the hall, which with enough skill I managed to take down, but I guess I wasn't expected to do that as I realized the hallway has now been sealed, soft locking me. Yeah, this is just a strange map. Honestly, I can't believe I came into this expecting it to be a normal Doom level. Like, this is almost a puzzle level. Grabbing the red keycard, I head to the red door. This leads to a room full of Cyber Demon, which I surmise is the reason this map has a large monster count. The Cyber Demon are all inactive, however, so I rush past them to the end of this Cyber Hall, which contains, once again, 2 key cards. They're both yellow, so it's yet another 50-50. I choose right, which causes all the cyber demons to die. I'm assuming left would have activated them, though it does nothing now. With my newfound yellow edge, I run back to the yellow switch and hit it, revealing the true exit to the level. Well, that was, it was interesting, I can say that. Kind of reminds me of some of the first maps I made for games and stuff with map editors, or even some of my earlier projects. It would just be slapped together with no care of detail and just be me slamming these ideas on top of one another with no coherence. I guess there's something neat to think that it's possible to beat this map pretty easily without firing a weapon. I don't think there's any deep meaning to that and the connection to the name of the level, but yeah. Most interestingly, in Kate's original post, she mentioned another map she was working on. It seemed like it was going to be big, but whatever it was, I couldn't find it, so I can only assume it was left unfinished. On her Twitter account, she also spoke of 2 more speed maps she made. However, the link to her Dropbox no longer works. But yeah, that was Kate's seemingly only publicly released map. Pretty fascinating. Even in map form, it still captures that Kate energy of wanting to surprise the player by being silly. Nothing Kate has made has ever really felt like it was made with the intention of being mean to the player. Instead, it's more to laugh with them and give them something very different and entertaining from the normal Doom experience. So anyways, I found like 6 more maps by Kate. Yeah, it's time to introduce the Kate Fox repository. This is where most of the mods I got for this video came from. It's by pure luck I stumbled upon this. I can't even remember how I found it. But it contains a lot of work done by Kate Fox that I never knew about. I don't know if this is a backup of hers or a friend's. I'll talk more about it later, but for now, let's take a look at these maps. These maps are a lot different from Language Barrier, as they actually try to be Doom levels. Honestly, I'm not even certain these are by Kate. I mean, I know there's one called The Horror of Mapping _ Kate, but and this one straight up says this level was made by Kate. Okay, I wasn't sure at first, alright? I think what kind of confirmed things for me is when I was looking through the files for one of the levels and found that the music for that level was composed by Jimmy91 with a happy :D face. This was a surprise to me. Jimmy91 was the old name of James Paddock, one of the absolute legends of Doom in my eyes. I mean, just read that description. I can't deny that. James rules, and I'll be talking about him more later on, as he's going to be highly relevant to this video, considering he's, the creator of Project Kate. But for the sake of now, he and Kate were really good friends, so I can make the connection that these are Kate's maps. So with that out of the way, let's check out these levels. I'm going to be a bit speedy because I don't think there's really too much interesting about them, rather their existence as a whole. First up is Blood Runs Red. I turned off free look under the assumption that this was how it was meant to be played. We're given a plasma rifle, and after a funny archvile jump scare, we climb these wall stairs and reach a huge room with a spider mastermind and arachnotrons. Already, this kind of gives me that amateur Doom map vibe. Large, flat, open rooms with monsters and repeating textures. I snatched the red key, and then I'm tasked to get the other 2, with 2 ways to go. One way takes me to a lava pit area, where I'm constantly taking damage from the floor. However, I can heal myself to full by strategically picking up these berserk power-ups, which is certainly an idea. This gives me the yellow key. Meanwhile, the blue key card is in this hall with this pulsating red wall. I like how after getting the blue key, the wall's lowered to show more of that red. This actually looks pretty cool. Opening the 3 doors with the key cards presents us with these opening walls. I think this is kind of a troll because if you keep running with it, you run straight into a cyber demon, alongside the jump scare archvile from earlier in the level. I don't know why I fought the cyber demon. Truthfully, I should have just ran to the exit. But yeah, see, these maps are pretty fast. Next is Deep Water Mine. So the whole disabling free look ended here, as the level begins with needing to aim upwards to shoot a switch. So yeah, a pretty direct answer to my question. The level starts with a lot of pistoling of enemies, I don't know if anyone really enjoys using the pistol in Doom. It wasn't until later I learned of the shotgun, which can be found in a secret. But I mean, I don't know if the shotgun is something that should be made a secret. This level actually has a pretty interesting idea. It's not often you find maps with a focus on underwater exploration. It actually kind of gives a vibe at points, like this underwater throne room area. I mean, I could have done without the Cyber Demon fight with barely any ammo. The main idea of this map is to turn off the 3 power generators split up from a central hub area. There's some pretty neat moments, like this one vertical maze of swimming between levels in the water while trying to manage your breath. I think the standout moment is this long dive downwards as imps shoot fireballs at you. And the game sort of transforms into a bullet hell where you need to manipulate the fireballs ahead of time. It's a pretty silly and unique idea. It's very fitting for Kate. So not gonna lie, I actually don't know if it's possible to finish this map. I mean, I found all 3 generators, but nothing happened. I looked around for a while, but I don't know. Maybe I missed something obvious. Next is Sat9. I know what you're thinking, Spacey, what's the full name? And I don't know, it's just Sat9. The map name for most of these in-games share the same name of the first level from Doom 2, Entryway. I recognized the song immediately for all the times my ears would get blown out booting up Lexicon. Seriously, why is Lexicon so loud? It's Funky Stars by Quasar, classic tracker song from 1996. Always loved how so many old Doom maps, and Doom maps in general, would always just go to tracker music. I've discovered so many jams from them. Anyways, I like the space-like areas here. The glowing blue structure here is pretty cool. But yeah, not gonna lie, I noticed that Kate Fox really liked throwing bosses into her levels. And I'm sorry, but spending minutes just shooting and strafing around a Cyber Demon just isn't what I play Doom for. Like, most map sets would at least spend several maps building up to these bosses. Even single maps usually have an idea of pacing, so that most of the level isn't just fighting a boss enemy. Anyways, past the Cyber Demon is this fight with demons and 2 archviles with some pain elementals in the back, but nothing is stopping the player from just running to the end. Next up, we have the Horror of Mapping _ Kate. That title is kind of a vibe. Mapping is tough. I don't know how I feel about being forced to fight 4 shotgunners with only a pistol, but that's the life, I guess. But after taking them out... No way. Y'all should have seen my reaction when I heard that Cyber Demon sound. Like, goddamn, the level hasn't even started and we're already doing this. There's other enemies in Doom besides the Golly Cybe. At this point, I just said screw it and ran past the once again large areas with easily dodgeable enemies scattered about, leading to a fight with another boss enemy, the Spider Mastermind. At the very least, I was given a BFG so I can handle this. But other than that, it's just a switch to lower the exit teleporter and it's over. So far, these maps haven't really been anything too interesting, but these last 2 are pretty neat. First is the Trials. Off the bat, I'm impressed by these rounded doors, and the area in general is a tad more interesting with this cracked wall. There's more detail here. So the idea is that we're going to have to complete these so-called trials. And no lie, going through this door at the start and seeing these platforms, I knew I was in for some shit. This is the first trial. I wasn't sure at first if I was allowed to jump. Map makers can set these flags themselves to prevent the player from jumping, crouching, etc. But I mean, most maps don't allow jumping. Though yeah, jumping is necessary for this. And you know, I like Jump Maze, the premier Doom platforming mod. But you know, that doesn't mean I necessarily enjoy it. Doom's momentum movement means landing from a jump usually means sliding like you're on goddamn ice, and then making sure to hold back so you won't slide off, but not to overcorrect yourself and back off a platform. It's annoying. But even Jump Maze understood to rarely use super small platforms. The part I find fun about Doom platforming is the setup for the jump, the backing up, the building of momentum to jump right at the end of the ledge, rather than the weird balancing minigame you need to play after landing. Anyways, sorry for the platforming rant. This is the first trial. Make it to the end of this room and back. Returning to the hub, the area for the second trial opens up. The second trial takes us to this room asking us to disable the nukage pump. Once again, the elevated structures here are definitely a step above anything I've seen in her previous maps, but this part is kind of annoying too, because it uses GZDoom's stealth modifier for enemies, so these enemies are invisible until they attack or get attacked. And I mean, there's a reason nobody uses this stuff. I don't think there's anything fun about randomly getting chain gun from an invisible enemy. Anywhooty, there's 8 switches around the nukage pump we need to deactivate in order to complete the trial, and move on to the next one. The third trial is an absolute pain in the ass. It requires the player to find 6 keys. This leads to a linear path of enemy hallways as each key we grab opens up a new area. No offense, Doom mapping is hard as hell. It requires a lot of understanding of Doom's gameplay and design behind the enemies, weapons, players' movements, and it's just super time consuming. But playing these maps really made me realize the things that separate amateur levels from the higher tier. It's just something you notice when you fight a ton of tough enemies on flat ground over and over. That many maps introduce different elevations for these enemies to create engaging combat encounters, instead of just dumping them on the player like this. This goes on for a while, culminating in this maze arena full of cyber demons, spider masterminds, and arachnotrons. The last 2 keys are here, after which we can leave and complete this trial. So with these 3 trials finished, a final area opens up in the hub. We arrive at this pretty cool foggy place. It's here we meet the Realm Lord. Yeah, I bet y'all weren't expecting dialogue and cutscenes. I sure wasn't. The Realm Lord says for the final trial to escape, we need to defeat their minions and then them. And when they say defeat their minions, they mean every single one, as I just circle strafed around spamming rockets. It's then that the Realm Lord comes out to fight. All they do is fire a BFG blast, meaning the player will just randomly blow up whenever the Realm Lord's BFG projectiles collide with a wall. I also ran out of ammo while fighting this boss after using all my rockets on the minions. I tried to go back to get more ammo, but there's no way back, and no ammo in the arena, so well, it is what it is. Anyways, the Realm Lord dies and we leave the level. Definitely Kate's most ambitious map I've mentioned so far. An improvement in quality and idea, even if personally it was the one I had the least fun with. The last one I have is actually pretty cool though. Z-Train. Z-Train is interesting, coming with a resource and texture wads that need to be loaded in with the map. The map file itself being called map 01, causing inference with me to believe that this is part of a map pack that never happened. We begin on a train, standard Doom 2 entryway song, nothing too special, until we go through the door and... oh snap! Like, dang, we're playing Heretic now? For y'all not in the know, Heretic was a game made in the Doom engine back in 1994. While at the time called a Doom clone, in this day and age it can basically be called a Doom total conversion with some new mechanics. This is very faithful to Heretic. The music, the weapons, the enemies, and even the inventory system is here, with the Tome of Power, an item that upgrades and changes all weapons. Like, I feel like the packs that this mod came with were just like Heretic.wad. It just pulled things from that. It's kind of surreal. This is basically what the map is. Running through these tight hallways in Heretic. Part of me kind of wonders why this wasn't just a Heretic mod. It ends by returning to Doom on the other side of the train, and that's it. Pure guesswork? But I think I can see the idea here. Upon making it to this side of the train, the player would turn around, open the door, and arrive at the next map. The by Kate at the beginning of the first map implies that this could have been some sort of collaborative project, where each time the player goes from one side of the train to the other, they'd go through a new level, which could be anything in terms of games made in the Doom engine. Maybe one level will be Strife themed, or a Chex Quest themed level. Make a Hexen level where the player has to go around the train pressing 80 goddamn switches to move on. Maybe even levels with their own custom weapons and enemies. Every time you go through the train door, you would never know what you'd get. Honestly, this is one of the coolest ideas for a map pack I've seen in Doom, if this is what was intended. It's a shame that this didn't take off into anything, or at least anything I found. And that's the other thing I realized about these Kate Fox maps. That even though they weren't great, kinda confusing, seemed to have a lot of reoccurring gameplay elements, from the obvious hub rooms splitting into different rooms, the random boss monsters and large rooms of flat ground. They still had moments of Kate Fox's wouldn't it be cool if ideas. I think at the very least, these maps were kind of an honest showcase of maps at an earlier skill tier of map building. The kind of stuff you don't see often just because its quality is vastly outmatched by the big popular map packs that creators took years to craft. There's something of a humbling reminder of the work that goes into these while playing through Kate's maps. It's kinda cool in the way that when I play Doom maps, it's usually the top quality ones. So there's something sort of nostalgic about these sort of beginner starter maps. I could tell that Kate's ideas were a lot more advanced than her skills of building a map to actually implement them. This was a fun little section. But with that, before we head into talking about the, actual topic of this video, we need to discuss what I consider to be Kate's two biggest mods. Ones that she would post a bunch of videos about and would interest me so much, but never seemed to release a download link to them. They aren't even listed on her GZDoom wiki page for her projects, because they were just never released. I honestly kinda thought I'd go my entire life never being able to play them, but luckily, I did find them. As I said, the GZDoom wiki only seems to talk about the mods she actually released, which is very few. And I found quite a bit in this Kate folder, but I couldn't really determine what she actually worked on or not. Like, there's a mod here called Kate is Helpful that if you boot up will cause barrels to randomly spawn in and follow the player, exploding on contact. There's this Doom roguelike mod that's not the Doom roguelike Arsenal mod, which I already talked about, but a mod based off the original Doom roguelike. I didn't know this even existed. I think there's like a taunt pack too. I'm not sure how much of this can actually be attributed to Kate. I mean, it seems like most of it. I mean, she posted about this Ghetto Blaster one on her YouTube, but it was a cool find, and I really am so glad that I'm able to play through these next two mods. I thought they were lost for good, really. I can only assume the owner of this repository was a good friend of Kate's to have access to all these mods with all these versions of them. Or perhaps this was just a place where Kate would upload her work. I have no clue. But I'm so happy that I will be able to talk about and play these next two mods. Beginning with DimensionLXXII. DimensionLXXII is a mod consisting of two character classes that play the game in quite unique ways. Right off the bat, I'll say that I love the font used for this mod, and the gradient coloring style that goes with it. Big fan of this. Speaking of style, this mod has a focus on score, from defeating enemies, picking up items, finding secrets. At the end of the level, we get this nice shot of a building at night as we're shown our bonuses for map completion. I like how the more we explore the map by defeating enemies and finding secrets, the more lenient the par time becomes. That's a neat idea. But now for the actual classes. And if you're expecting anything normal by this point, then I don't know what to say. Kate. Kate has a lot of mechanics going on. Her starting weapons are these hammers? Fists? Yeah, she starts melee. Mashing fire will cause a rapid punch combo, while alt fire is this sort of decent range poke. However, this mod implements something I don't see too often, with an attack that's activated with a combo command, by pressing fire and then alt fire right after, which results in this overhead swing. This kinda creates an effective and satisfying 3-hit combo of normal punch, overhead swing, and a poke. Kate only has two other weapons. That being the Rail Spike, a super slow firing railgun that can shoot silver or gold shots. I'm assuming the gold does more damage. And the Magma Driver, this pistol which fires these kind of weak ass shots. The VFX on it is so large that it sort of obscures the vision, and I don't really enjoy using it. Though it does also have that kind of combo, if you hold fire and then press alt fire, it shoots like a shotgun blast. It refills ammo over time, and I like the empty animation text that appears above the player's head when you try and use a weapon and it's empty. That's cool. Upgrades can be found for these weapons, changing the firing mode of the Rail Spike to be a shotgun, bouncy shots, or lightning shots, and giving the Magma Driver an alt fire, which is its explosive grenade that has incredible range and deals some nice damage, especially to myself as I kept blowing myself up with it. So this all sounds basic, and that's when I hit the help key and show y'all this. I know what y'all are thinking, what the hell is this, Spacey? And I was thinking that too. There's multiple pages also. Kate is a spellcaster. Thusly, by pressing a bindable button, we open up a prompt to press keys into. Yeah baby, here's the Kate factor. Basically, I have to enter the codes found here to queue up a spell, where upon pressing the spell button again, it will use said spell, opening up the slot for us to enter another code. Yes, this is expected to be done during combat. If y'all are wondering, A is main fire, B is alt fire for codes. There are a lot of spells, ranging from fireballs, sparks that travel across the ground towards enemies, walls to block projectiles, shield refills, ground crossing ice glaciers, thunder blasts, fire rings, enemy confusion, and more. Kate can even stop time if the player finds certain items. She kinda has everything for every situation. Certain enemies are even weak to specific attacks, like Lost Souls instantly freezing from ice spells. What's the catch? Well, using spells costs energy. Energy is your health. I know you just told me to screw off, and I don't blame you. Using spells hurt you, but you have to because your weapons suck ass. So often I'm running around at low HP, most fights leaving me at a net loss of health. How do you refill health? With health pickups, typically in the form of a battery that will put Kate in a regen state, shown by this circle in the middle pulsating, so she'll slowly gain health. The HP cap's at 150, so it's ideal to use spells while it's still rising as the leftover energy will be discarded. It's actually kinda odd how similar this is to Earthbound? I know that sounds random, but this is sort of the rolling HP mechanic, at least from healing, and the spells use mother sounds, so you tell me. It's a super fascinating idea. So while you're regenerating health, you're free to just go in and spam spells before it caps out. And I know this was intentional because the other character class doesn't do this. The other way Kate can heal is with the Psych spell. Using it, and assuming it doesn't just randomly miss because this is an RPG I guess, will cause this drain attack that remains active as long as you're close to the enemy, which depending on the enemy is pretty scary, but they are constantly taking damage. So monsters with high pain chances like Revenants and Cacodemons are pretty good for this. I recommend using the spell to get a friend and sucking them off for their HP. Of course, the distortion and perception skills also have a chance to fail too. These three are the only spells that can. So it's pretty clear that Kate has a massive learning curve, just trying to memorize all the spells and having the dexterity to enter them in the heat of combat. It's genuinely really difficult. And not always fun, but it is really cool. It's one of those things where I'm like, you know, I'm sure Kate thinks this is really fun, because she made this, she knows all the codes and can enter them damn near instantly, she's got footage of it. The class Kate can do anything and has spells for every situation. It's just a matter of how good you are personally to be able to enter these spells, and the awareness of moments to enter them. There's a lot of depth to this, and at its highest level, it's probably cool as hell. To me, it's just kinda clunky. I'm not trying to think while playing Doom, and if I am, it's trying to find out where to go on these maps, and how to assess enemy patterns. It's still dope as hell though, and there are moments where I genuinely feel like I'm a mage stopping to cast spells while punching and firing guns. Rather than mods like Wrath of Kronos, where you can bind spells to hotkeys, but only 4, it's a different take. Like I said, it's clunky, but I like it. It reminds me of old games with these sort of weird clunktastic mechanics. Back when games didn't have to follow a modern set of rules on how certain gameplay systems should be handled, rather than having something that will be remembered with mixed reception, but will still be remembered and define that game. It makes things unique. This spell list in DimensionLXXII and how to enter them stands out, because it's so obviously strange. Like, it's basically Doom, but I have to enter cheat codes to use powerful attacks. I can kinda respect how noob unfriendly the Kate class is. I get the vibe Kate was just making something that she thinks is rad, rather than something that people will understand. And that's the kind of projects that I think are the coolest. So y'all might think this spell stuff is whack, and that this mod is lame. And well, there's one spell I haven't mentioned yet. One that isn't even mentioned in-game, but on the outside spell list file that comes with the mod. Down up alt fire main fire will queue up the shapeshift spell. And I know y'all just hit the gamer lean. Upon using shapeshift, another button command window pops up where we can enter another code. Left main fire alt fire right will turn Kate into a tank. Her sprite sadly doesn't change, but she can't strafe anymore and sort of moves around like a tank. She can fire rainbow eggs that spawn exploding chickens. I don't know what the hell causes the chickens to come out, I think it's luck. Alt fire is a cluster egg grenade, but I don't think it can spawn the exploding chickens. It seems there's contact damage too, so Kate can just run things over. Up left right grants us the ability to turn into a helicopter. And this one actually does have a player sprite, so now we can just brokenly fly around, main fire being a machine gun, alt fire being rockets. That's neat. I don't think there's a way to turn back into normal Kate though, so guess this is the life now. One last thing on Kate, I do quite enjoy her voice acting. It has a cool effect on it, and I like the lines for when she's low on HP and such. It's cool.
Nothing usable here.
Though I have no clue what the yelling for the secret found sound voice line is. Now for Pink. I won't lie, for a majority of my playtime I had no clue what this character was doing. While I can say out of the two, I think Kate is cooler, I'll definitely say I enjoyed playing Pink more. She's a lot more basic, but she does have things going for her. Playing as Kate, I noticed I was grabbing weapons such as revolvers that I couldn't even use. Well, that's for Pink. Pink is a more traditional gunner, not being able to use spells. Despite this, her starting weapon is still melee. It's this big hammer. The hammer feels nice, but it's not as strong as you'd like, though it does have some good knockback to hit enemies away with. Using the hammer while falling from a jump will cause this ground pound AoE attack. That is pretty sweet. The hammer has a useful alt fire, shooting this powerful grenade. However, using this will consume some of your pink meter and raise the light gauge. I know y'all who were just vibing are like, wait, what? Yeah, I'll get to the mechanics. Her other weapons include a revolver that can't be manually reloaded, so sometimes you just enter a fight with one shot left and have to reload. Its alt fire being this rapid fire spray of dark bullets, lowering the light gauge. I know, calm down. The double barrel shotgun is what it is and all that it needs to be. Alt fire being this dark spread shot. And the rifle, single shot and powerful, with an alt fire shooting a light rail beam that increases the light gauge. And I know y'all are slamming your fist. Alright Spacey, stop playing with us, I've had enough of this. Okay. Y'all probably get it by now, but Pink needs to balance between light and dark attacks. Using light attacks will fill the light gauge, while using dark attacks lower it. and you can't use any light attacks if the gauge is full and vice versa. There's also other problems. When the light gauge is full, I can't see shit. It's literally too bright. Like, can you imagine my confused ass running around with this bright ass screen, wondering what's happening? Like, I thought this was just part of the mod. I thought it was just like a bug or something. Similar effect when the light gauge is low with this dark tint on the screen. Filling the light gauge with the hammer costs some of the pink bar. Doing with the rifle does not, as these weapon alt fires cost ammo. I think this is a pretty interesting way to encourage the player to swap weapons, utilizing light attacks to fill the gauge, and that satisfying feeling of having that full light gauge and just unleashing the dark attacks. Sure, you can just not interact with the light and dark system by not using alt fires, but that's no fun, and these alt fires are pretty useful. It's like Kate. Yeah, you can just ignore the spells, but then why play the mod? I think pink is pretty cool. She's a lot more simple, and I enjoy the extra thought of controlling my light and dark gauge. It's not too heavy as to impede on the normal gameplay, just letting me know when I should switch my weapons. Judging by some trailers I was seeing, I think pink can like get consumed by the darkness and light, being able to like change forms. I didn't get this to happen. I noticed I picked up some invisible power-ups that changed my gauge and gave me infinite light or dark. Maybe that has something to do with it. The mod itself comes with another mod that's a monster pack. This changes the behavior of some enemies in the game, and you can get the feeling it was just to remove things that Kate thought was annoying. Like pain elementals no longer spawn lost souls, they shoot fireballs. Chain gunners don't fire at long ranges, and our attacks are replaced by the magma gunshots, which are still distracting with the VFX. It's now easier to differentiate the Revenant's homing balls due to their added effects, and probably some more minor changes. One last thing to note is the life system. Yeah, see these stars? Upon being defeated, the player spawns back at the beginning of the level, losing a star. It's rare, but possible to gain more stars. Upon losing all stars, you do pistol restart the map with all enemies in progress lost. Gonna be honest, it feels kinda cheap to just respawn after dying with no penalty. Like, let me hold my L. Funnily enough, this mod comes with a bunch of different add-on patches for map packs, as without these patches, the intermission screen and live system won't work. But everything else seems to work, so I kinda prefer this. But it's pretty time consuming for a score system that I'm not sure actually has any effect. And I don't really like the lives. Overall, yeah, this mod is pretty great. There's a lot of impressive stuff here, just not seen in a lot of Doom mods at the time, which is kind of a reoccurring theme with Kate's mods. I feel like she was ahead of the curve and really knew how to do extreme and cool things with GZDoom, even if these things would result in mods and maps typically not seen as fun, especially in the modern age. It's actually kind of sad how underrated this mod is. I mean, gameplay mods in general for Doom are underrated. People pour their hearts and years of work into some of the coolest mods out there that I pity people for not knowing about. DimensionLXXII has it rough because it was never hosted anywhere. And all it takes is that repository for Kate Fox to go down, and it won't even be possible for anyone to play anymore. Which I think is kind of a shame, because DimensionLXXII is dope. Yeah, sure, it's not finished in places. Some of Pink's items, her sprites and voice lines are just Doom Guy, but it doesn't feel unfinished. Like this could have totally been released fine. Before we continue, I would like to give a shout out to my Ko-Fi supporters. I know I usually do this at the end of the video, but things are gonna be a bit different with the structure of this video, that I feel like it's better to do it now. So shout out to my Golly Gamer supporters, Seltris and Ken Chiago, alongside everyone else who has been supporting me and everyone else who has supported me. Let's keep going, yo. That leads us to the last mod from Kate I want to speak about before we get to Project Kate. Another mod not mentioned anywhere on her GZDoom page, what I personally consider to be her biggest project yet. One I never thought I'd be able to play. Something that had the potential to be truly magical. A mod that would fully show the mind and creativity of Kate Fox. I am so happy to show you all.
All together now. Rainbow beam.
Krazy Kate, Adventures of Light and Dark. I'm not entirely sure the full endgame of it, but Krazy Kate, at least in my mind, is a pretty early example of what could have potentially been a full-on game made in the Doom engine. The mod is about Kate's avatar, Kate Fox, and her friends going on an adventure in a world with assets all drawn by Kate herself. And let me tell you, I dig hard with the vibes of these levels. I think it's really cool, because Kate's mind and style was always so far from the violent, dark, gory, demon-killing nature of Doom. So to see her work in a more stylish and colorful world really allows her to create something matching of her own. Always kind of felt the resonance with that idea. I'm not much into violence and gore, but I do love Doom. But that was never the part of Doom I loved, you know? Also, I'm going to be saying the word crazy a lot for this section. It's typically not a word I like using, but it is the name of this mod, so bear with me. Starting out, we got 4 characters to choose from, with their own weapons and mechanics. I'll talk more in depth on these characters later, but for now, let's start with Kate. Kate's got a star wand with 5 shots. I love the twirling animation when pulling it out. It has a charging splash damage alt fire with multiple levels of charge that needs to be upgraded throughout the game. Ammo regens, so it's not a big deal, and when I do run out of ammo I can just use it as a melee weapon. Speaking of which, Kate's other starting weapon is, well, her hands, which can be held down for rapid fire attacks. The alt fire here is this finger snap. It doesn't seem to do anything at the moment, but I'll explain later. Side note, I love this cool ass border for if you shrink the screen size of the game. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything created in Doom do this. It's very interesting. But currently, we're in the hub world of the game, so let's jump down this green pipe thing to enter the first level, Happy Hills. I feel like the colorfulness of this mod has such a unique quality to it. I love the textures for the ground and wall patterns, the thick black outlines around objects. It's here we encounter our first enemies, known as Mr. Scooters. They roll around shooting star shots similar to Kate's. When defeated, they drop these rainbow crystals, which I also find just by moving around the level. These fill up a gauge that I'll speak more on later. I continue through some more enemies to see this odd open area. I touch a spring and arrive in a large room, but there's not really much here. I take the same spring to this Cake Castle arena, where it looks like there's going to be some sort of big battle that will go down, but nothing. Climbing around it, I managed to find an upgrade to the Star Wand, increasing my max ammo and allowing me to do a level 2 charge shot, firing 2 stars instead of 1. I also come across a checkpoint. Indeed. There are quite a number of voice lines in this mod, which I always appreciate. It's cute. Thinking the checkpoint was progress, I tried to move on ahead from it, only to find a spring seemingly looping me back to the beginning of the level. Krazy Kate, The Adventure of Light and Dark, was never finished. I never really knew why so many of Kate's projects lay dormant like this. Why they never got finished. Maybe it was just simply wavering attention with these projects. Because a couple years later from this, in 2015, she made A_random mod. So maybe she was just juggling things. She did detail in one post that her hard drive crashed, which caused her to lose all of her projects. So perhaps that's where the fate of Krazy Kate fell. Later Twitter posts included one talking about reworking Krazy Kate into a real-time strategy game, and later on, a more ambiguous Halloween post in relation to Krazy Kate. And while Krazy Kate will never be finished, I'd be erroneous to disregard what is here. While you may think that this is all Krazy Kate has to offer, there is still a ton of unused content that remains within the mod, and it's some fascinating stuff. However, first, I think it'd be fair to farther go in depth about the playable characters. I know it's kind of silly considering this mod only has like one enemy that shows up about 6 times and that's it, but I do believe what's here is pretty interesting. The game has the life system from DimensionLXXII here, where if the player were to run out of lives, they would be taken to a game over map, but that was never programmed into the game, so it just errors out instead and takes you to the console. Kind of the same thing because you have to restart still. On to the characters though. Kate has been discussed, however there are certain systems I haven't fully revealed. For example, the spell button is back from DimensionLXXII, including all functionality from the arrow keys to both fire buttons. I tried a myriad of combinations and spells from D72, but it seems like no spells were ever implemented into Krazy Kate. I kinda wonder if the idea this time would be going around and finding the spells, learning them, and then being able to use them, slowly building up a spell book. I feel like that would make sense in terms of this grander journey this game entailed. Keeping on Kate, she has several weapons left unused that can be cheated back into the game. This includes the Shadow, which lets the player throw out a shadow where a random object will fall from the sky, hitting the enemy. This is a very unique idea for a weapon, super creative, with just the number of items that can fall down. And I like the idea of the pickup is that Kate just picked up a shadow. I'm not quite sure what causes the objects to fall. Sometimes they would be like heavily delayed, sometimes nothing happens. Perhaps it can be stopped by ceilings. Very nebulous in nature, this one. Kate also has these explosive sandwiches, which are very useful, and I love the cartoony explosive animation on them. According to a YouTube video by Kate, there's apparently some way to get the sandwich to bite your hand, and maybe it's like an idle animation. It's pretty cool regardless. The final weapon is this sort of rainbow rocket launcher with some very impressive effects. What's interesting about this weapon is that any character can get it, which implies to me that this is some sort of ultimate weapon the player would have picked up near the end of the game and used, but that's just my conjecture. Y'all may have noticed by now, there's gamers aplenty amongst the bottom of the screen. So, Kate has summons that she can use. Activated as items, these include one that increases defense, one that attacks, one that gives regen, and one that increases attack damage. Those hearts on the right represents how many summons she can have at a time, and the player can use the arrow at the bottom to unsummon the current summons. I think if you pick up more than one of the same summon, you can have more than one of the same type out. Wasn't something I tried, but Kate has footage of it. Kate's final mechanic is where I'll bring up those crystal pickups from before. Kate has a gauge with the matching icon to that of these crystals. The gauge also fills up by 50% when reaching a checkpoint. Upon filling the gauge, Kate has access to her super attack. I suppose sharing the idea that Kate having time powers from DimensionLXXII, Kate can spend her gauge by alt-firing her fists, doing a flick to shoot this clock out. Upon hitting the wall, the clock lets out a powerful attack by vaporizing all enemies in an area. I'm assuming that part because I only had one enemy out at the time, but come on, it's a super attack, it probably annihilates everyone. That wraps up Kate, but there are still 3 characters left. Kate is the most finished one. Most of the remaining ones don't have too much to talk about. An example being the next one, Kari. She doesn't have a player sprite, and all crystal pickups are replaced with missing sprites, implying that she would have had her own pickups different from Kate's. Besides the aforementioned cheated rainbow rocket launcher that all characters get, her only weapon is this blaster that shoots a triple laser shot, sort of functioning like a shotgun. When out of ammo, it fires a wave that pushes enemies away. And that's all there is to Kari. See, not much to her. Despite this, the next character, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. I mean, the backwards letters don't help, but Sayardonyx is the second most finished character, and probably my favorite. They have their own player sprite, sounds, alongside pickable up crystals for their own gauge, which I'll get into later. But I think the idea is that every character would have their own crystals and super attack that the player would have to choose when to use throughout the journey as they acclimated the crystals to do so. So yeah, Sardonyx is cool as hell. Their starting weapon is this dark orb that creates a wave of shadow flames surrounding them, which looks totally sick. The ult fire is their super attack, which I'll get into later. The orb attack is pretty hard to hit though, it's melee range, but it's good for taking out enemies high above on cliffs, as I can just lean against the cliff, letting the flames no-clip up to the enemy. If y'all play Doom a lot, you would understand how this makes sense. Their other starting weapon is this awesome flame sword, unleashing this dope-ass flame spiral shot. My only problem with it is, much like the magma driver from D72, its effects can kinda hinder the vision of the player, especially after toasting an enemy with it. To my surprise, Sardonyx actually has the same amount of weapons as Kate. Their next weapon, accessed through cheats, is this sort of ice crystal. Its main fire shoots this really cool ring shot that spreads out, while its alt fire rapid fires these shots in a spiral pattern. These weapons have some incredibly awesome visual effects with their projectiles. I really appreciate that in how unique some of them are. It's what I love about Sayar so much. It's so flavorful compared to the myriad of Doom mods and games that just use the perfectly serviceable hit scan. It does remind me of other games made in the engine that would have similarly cool weapons, but these games came out years later, which further infers to me just how ahead Kate's ideas were. Sayar's final unique weapon are the Kate bombs, perhaps returning from Era Doom, but this time as a throwable. They're pretty satisfying to use, having a far bouncy toss main fire and a ground rolling short distance alt fire. I love how the tree shakes when hit by the bomb. The final attack here is of course the super, and let me tell you, this attack is something else. Gained by collecting these dark crystals, alt firing the orb lets out this black hole that I swear lasts for like several minutes, just slowly growing bigger and bigger as it sucks in and destroys all enemies. Like soon green lightning bolts strike down around the hole, like god damn, what a super move. Truly a powerful friend. Arya, the last character, kinda sucks. I mean, they're clearly unfinished. Similar to Akari in terms of having no player sprite or collectibles, they only have one weapon, this weak ass confetti popper that they can spin around. Maybe in the finished game, the alt fire would have been using the confetti popper to unleash some powerful confetti blast, but for now Arya just runs up to things and weakly smacks them with the popper. So that's it for characters. But I think what's far more interesting is the large number of unused stages that can still be accessed. And it's not actually unused, as it's possible to reach it from the hub area, being the only other hub map. I love the contrasting bright orange and blue colors here. The water in this game looks amazing. Like, you know the water is good when I just want to drink it. But the level does match up to its name, as, well, we're already at the end of it. Just this very small cave area to cool it in. I like the Kirby's Dream Land 3 music though. Map 03, Rightful River, is, well, it was never really started. Just a simple box. This isn't the only level we'll be seeing like this, but they do still all have their own unique music. While that may be disappointing, this is followed by what might be my favorite map. Map 04, Ascending Aurora. God, what a vibe. This song is Yuki Satellites by Radix. As y'all may have seen by the gameplay, this level has its own gimmick of these areas of low gravity we can jump in to reach really high places. But besides that, this is all the level is. But still, it's so pretty. I adore the yellow, purple, blue platforms and space background. It really was this level that made me realize how special Krazy Kate would have been if it was finished. It kind of makes me sad, but it's also amazing because I never thought I would have made it into the same places that Kate Fox had posted screenshots of. Map 05 is Southward Slopes, and I'd say it has about as much effort put into it as the first level. It's this ice area with the snowcat music playing from Sonic, and there's actually enemies here. I think the mechanic of being able to destroy the ice with attacks is pretty cool, but things get wild where upon entering the cave, the game becomes a 2D platformer. Yeah, what the hell? Even with the consideration of having these stars to show where you're aiming. Like, okay. Sadly, this is where the level ends, having a simple bridge to nowhere. But still, it really goes to demonstrate how ahead things were planned with this game, that later levels already had ideas and mechanics implemented. Map 06 is named Fairly Forested, and it's anything but, just being another box map. Map 07 is Carbon Castle, and I could only imagine how cool this place must look like, because in game it's just a box. But don't worry, because now we have Map 08, Golden Gateway, and yeah, it was never really started. I know what y'all are thinking, okay Spacey, stop wasting my time. The rest of these maps are all the same. And well, pump the brakes, gamey. Let me handle this one. Because Map 08 is sorta killer. Slasher's shadows see us in some purple void, once again standing on some wicked platforms as the droning music courses through me. There's nothing here but the abyss. If that wasn't eerie enough, check out Map 10, Calamitous Carnival. Like, God, did I warp myself into a horror game? Just the idea that it's called Carnival and it looks like this really interests me to what the potential finished map would have looked like. I will say I love the red spacey sky. I'm glad Kate Fox understood how colorful space could be. But sadly, Map 10 marks the end of all the maps in Krazy Kate. Though afterwards, we do get a nice look at why we shouldn't play this with Doom. Kate said she was going to release a standard version of Krazy Kate and an arcade version, the arcade version being more compatible with Doom. However, this seemingly never happened. It's still possible to play this mod with other maps, but palettes, most notably on enemies, will be heavily miscolored. This could potentially work with a mod that replaces monsters, however. Maybe Shades of Doom would be a good idea to keep the vanilla experience. Items and pickups will still be strewn about, but mostly seems to be Kate's weapons, regardless of who I play. And of course, the live system won't work. Besides all that, looking in the files we can find more potentially unused stuff, like boxes for weapons, or even an enemy named Slasher, just being a cyber demon sprite. Perhaps Slasher was a boss we would fight at the map Slasher Shadows. Another neat detail is, remember the borders on the screen that I was talking about when lowering the screen size? Well, it actually changes depending on what map the player is currently on, which I didn't even know was possible. I mean, I don't know who plays Doom like this, but, you know, like emulating the Sega 32X version or something. But it's a really cool detail that I appreciate. In the earliest version of Krazy Kate that I have, there actually is a completely different level for Happy Hills. It's a really small segment, but it does have a flag at the end, so we can get an idea of what the end of a level would have looked like in Krazy Kate. But yeah, that's Krazy Kate. Kate Fox passed away on December 17th, 2017. I know, that was kind of sudden, but that's how death is. It's sudden. It was a house fire. It happened overnight while she was asleep. The house itself was residential to the family of a fellow GZDoomer, sound designer and dark ambience music producer, Bouncy Tim. It's believed that Kate passed peacefully, but in the fire engulfed what was likely the rest of her work, alongside that of Bouncy Tim's. It's weird. It's always weird. I guess I'll share what piece of the puzzle I am in all of this, but I'd arguably say I exist as a piece that fits nowhere in the puzzle, but still a piece, with no place. I wasn't close to Kate. Not really at all. Not that I can remember, sadly. But I remember talking to her a few times. Maybe it was through YouTube comments, maybe it was through the YouTube messaging. Back then you could message people on YouTube. I'm not sure. But she was like, as sad as it sounds, the first person that really talked to me. I wish I could remember more. Kate Fox was really the first person I knew that ever passed on. I'm pretty sure that at the time I was taking a pretty big break from Doom, and it was only when I came back that I discovered the fact. I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling of scrolling back through Kate's posts, comments, videos. This is the first time I ever did that. It was such a surreal feeling of reading through things from someone who no longer lives. Even now, reading her Twitter for this video, it's weird. It's odd how we can worry and wonder and fight for so many things, but one day go to sleep and just never wake up. In one instance, all of that suddenly no longer means anything. How small it was in the grand scheme. We'll never know when, and we'll never know what we'll leave behind. It makes me think of now when I scroll through old forums and posts. How many of the people there, how many of that is their last words? Their last posts? How many of them are still alive? It makes me remember that they're people. I don't think I ever got over what happened to Kate. I was too young, too stupid. I wasn't ready for it. I don't think anyone is for the first time. It's always kind of something I think about. Something that haunts me. Sometimes keeps me up at night. And a lot of me can't even remember how much I even interacted with Kate. I can't remember why I feel that way. I don't think I deserve to feel this pain. Kate Fox never even knew me. I was a speck in her life compared to the people who truly lost someone that day. It took a lot of time for me to decide to make this video. I kind of felt like it shouldn't be me doing this. That I'm in between outside and inside on the matter. Nobody knows me, and truthfully, I barely know Kate Fox. Caitlin Fox was always an incredible, creative, and kind-hearted person in my eyes. She was so much more that at the time I didn't even understand. I was clueless towards the detail of her work, what she believed in. I didn't even know what it meant to be trans at the time. To someone as impressionable and innocent as me, Kate Fox was a marvel of a person in my eyes. But at the same time, I think the strangest part of this, the thing that messes me up the most, is that I thought this all happened in 2013. When coming back to this, I read that she passed away December 19th, 2017. I couldn't believe it. That didn't feel true at all. But it was. Kate was still tweeting. She had a Discord server. She was active. When I first saw that, even now when I think about it, this happens a lot when I misremember or forget things. But I begin to have a sort of psychological crisis with myself and my existence. Just during this video when I found this out, I laid down, unable to sleep for hours, just thinking that it wasn't possible. It couldn't be. It had to have happened in 2013. 2017, that doesn't even feel that long ago. I mean, it was 7 years ago, but damn, really? Shit, even reading this now is kind of messing me up. But still, I want this video, in part, to be a celebration to some of the fantastic projects that Kate Fox has done. Going in, I never thought I would have found the archive for Krazy Kate. I thought it was lost in time. But then, that moment, when I sat down and played Krazy Kate for the first time, knowing all these years from now what happened, I felt something. Exploring the cave area, I felt a forlonging sadness at this clearly unfinished project, these broken worlds, forever a state of void. But I felt something else. Exploring this virtual world, I finally felt closure. I know, it's odd, but I think it was the moment I first entered the game and moved around with Kate. Something washed over me, slow and calmly. It's weird how messed up Kate's passing was for me, and maybe it will still always be there. But I felt like I finally saw the end when playing Krazy Kate. Coming into this video, I assumed I wouldn't be able to play it, simply only having these screenshots to represent the impossible. In my script, I had already written, there is nothing more I wanted than to be able to play these projects. But thanks to the person or people behind that repository, it was possible for me. Considering I would never have played them if not for this video, golly am I ever so glad for choosing to talk about Caitlin Fox. In a cosmical sense, it all felt right. I think it's time, finally time, we can talk about Project Kate. I hope y'all can understand why I spent this time before it. Project Kate wouldn't mean anything if you didn't know who Kate was, or the amazing things she's done. She was heralded by everyone as one of the sweetest and funniest people in the community. A good friend who was always there in every thread helping others. She was knee deep in Doom since 03, and that's in respect for me. Project Kate is in part unforgettable because Caitlin Fox herself is unforgettable. When I first heard of Kate's passing, I remember playing Project Kate, and it forever implanted itself into my mind as one of the harder hitting pieces of media I've ever experienced. Because it was real. Too real. So, what is it? Project Kate was made by a close friend of Kate's I've already mentioned, none other than James Paddock. Another incredible person in his own right. There's far too much to list in terms of the work he has done, from his maps, his projects, his music. Seriously, if you ever played custom Doom levels, you've probably heard his music before. Look him up and just boot up the playlist of his MIDI music. He's made like far past hundreds of songs. Doom co-creator John Romero even got him to create the MIDI soundtrack for the 5th episode of Doom, Sigil. Badass. Check out his non-MIDI music too, it rules also. Great vocalist. But back on topic, Jimmy was really affected by the passing of Kate Fox. Project Kate was released on December 24th, 2017, a mere 5 days after Kate Fox left us. It's heartbreaking stuff. It's not fair. It never will be. Project Kate consists of 3 maps. 2 maps were birthday gifts from Jimmy to Kate Fox, and the last map is fucking something else. At the time of writing this, I hadn't played Project Kate since around 2018 or so, when I first found out about what happened to Kate. Even now, I feel kind of nervous, kind of unsure. I don't know what I'm going to feel by the end of this, but I'm ready to experience it again. I hope you all will join me as I boot up Project Kate. The first map is Grand Galloping Garden, made for Kate Fox's birthday back in 2015. Off the bat, I really love the purple aesthetic. A lot of the colors and palettes of enemies and items have been replaced by it. I'm assuming it was probably Kate's favorite color. I remember her using it as her color in some of her videos. This map pack also disables free looking, crouching, and jumping. It's vanilla. The music here is a MIDI rendition of Smile, a song from My Little Pony, because Kate Fox was a pretty big My Little Pony fan. There's something very pleasant and peaceful about it all. The light purple accents everywhere to the really bright blue sky. Not too far in, the player can find the Rainbow Laser Gun, a custom weapon specially made for this level. It's really cool, being a sort of replacement for the plasma rifle, shooting laser beams in the sequential colors of the rainbow. You can see it if you watch the muzzle flash on the gun. It has an alt fire that shoots every color at once for a powerful attack at the cost of more ammo. This is a very pleasant outside area, with the running water full of health increasers, alongside the Sugar Rush power-up, functioning as a berserk pack. I need a blue key at the moment to activate this switch, so I move into this C-shaped hallway. At the end is the blue key I was searching for, as this activates a monster closet of enemies appearing, with the lights turning off. I hit a switch and escape with more enemies showing up. It's around this point that if I were to go back to the beginning of the level, I could discover a little Kako mini Easter egg by looking out the window. Regardless, I activate the blue switch, raising the gate for me to pass into this room that just tells me it's gonna be an ambush. Walking towards the teleporters reveal just that. I like that even the Hell Knights have these purple fireballs. I do sort of regret not turning off the dynamic lights, however, as seeing their green glow told me that the lights probably weren't intended for this mod. My bad. Heading to the teleporter, I enter a strange room full of enemies. Being given a rocket launcher, I take the enemies out, while also being given a computer area map. This allows me to view the full map, which... the Heart Pad. Made for her birthday in 2014. God, this song, composed by Jimmy himself, is an absolutely beautiful piece of music. I remember when I first played through this mod, after finishing it, I extracted the song just to listen to it myself. It felt kinda wrong as it was made for Kate, but it's just such a comforting tune. I made sure to restart the map as well, and able to ensure a pistol start. It begins with a ton of enemies surrounding the player. There's a berserk pack nearby, but I decide to save it for healing. Once again, I just love this map. The open blue sky, the calming, cheerful music. There's something so unexplainable to experience something made with pure emotion. It really feels like a representation and celebration of Kate's life. It's beautiful. A bit into the level, the player can find a secret wall leading to this area. I love the Kate Fox torches. It really gives a sort of different spiritual context now after her passing. Going through the teleportal takes us to this large room with a massive cake with Kate Fox's face on it. Just seeing this, I could already feel the emotions start to swell up again. Which is someone who doesn't feel anything genuine much anymore, was surprising. This secret leads to the rainbow laser gun, returned once more, alongside the red keycard and the super shotgun nearby. There were plenty of enemies in the preceding hallway. Ammo is quite a struggle on this map with the ultra violence difficulty. Taking out the Baron guard, I hit the switch and grab the blue card. The blue door leads us to the exit area, some sort of helipad, where after taking out the enemies, here we go. There's no question of if I should pistol start this map, it happens automatically. This is the final map for Project Kate, made after the passing of Kate Fox. And it is tough. It needs to be. It has to be. Grabbing the rocket launcher takes us to the first challenge. Stepping on these hearts to reach the Kate candle. Falling is death, with each heart beating up and down, making the challenge for running across them especially difficult. The music by Stewboy is an incredible piece on its own. It really evokes a feeling of disbelief, confusion, and heartbreak, as if just hearing the news and having your world torn apart from it. Making it to Kate takes us to the main arena, shaped in the face of Kate Fox's avatar, connected to the heart as the title card for this WOD refers to. So, upon running to the middle of this arena, the player grabs an invulnerability sphere, granting invincibility, as two archviles spawn. And what the player has to do here is, it's something I'll never forget. The player needs to reach the upper platforms on Kate's ears in order to activate switches. The switches allowing us to travel, with the teleporters the archviles are on, Kate's eyes. The only way the player can reach these platforms is by using the fiery attacks of the archviles to burn them, launching them up high enough. Each teleporter takes the player to a different side of the edge ring of the arena. The player will need to take both teleporters to activate a switch on each side. It's here that the intention of the level design becomes a lot more apparent. Besides the abundance of fire enemies with the archviles flames, the revenants and imps fireballs, there's the player's rockets. The rocket launcher is the only weapon the player is given. There's a theme I felt of self-harm and pain. Due to the cramped areas and abundance of imps, it's very easy and common to take damage from the rockets you fire. This map is a challenge, it's frustrating, it's tough, it's painful, it's all intentional. There is also a secret on this map, a hidden room and message that the player can discover from James Paddock. Considering how personal it is, I decided it'd be best not to show it. It just wouldn't feel right to show what it contains. That's for the people who truly want to experience this themselves. But I'll say it requires good speed and usage of the invincibility sphere to reach it. Regardless, after a ton of attempts of running my head against the level, I finally hit both switches on the sides of the arena, where I'm told the heart has been open. And that's the end of Project Kate. One of the most powerful and unforgettable Doom mods, and, well, just game in general I've experienced. It's beautiful. I'll never be able to fully portray the pain that James Paddock felt from Kate's passing, but parts of it can really be felt playing through Project Kate. It's a celebration of a real person, a caring project by someone's best friend to honor their passing. Project Kate manages to be something above everything, because it's real. Its message folds into an arrow straight to the heart, a reminder of an incredible person that was once here. I guess I'm not surprised coming back to this mod I ended up feeling similar emotions all over again. Kate Fox may not have even known who I was. I barely knew who Kate truly was, but I did know her. I myself am an example of one of the many people that Kate touched with her kindness. She didn't deserve to go, but what a hell of a send-off this project was. Deserving for what a hell of a person Kate was. Someone who I feel like really saw the world in a different light. One of a kind. I wish she was still here. I hope I did good on this. For several weeks I was struggling on the consideration of this video, as opposed to the several other times I thought on this video only to quickly discard it. This time I was really thinking of doing it. I remember going out on a walk. Pleasant day. As I stood, hair blowing from the wind, the sun warming my face, I stared toward the white clouds and the blue sky. Something awoke, amidst my consideration of this video. I thought back to my video on Explores the Sky, where I talked about carrying the spirit of others with you. I thought back to my searches of Kate Fox, how buried she is to everything. There still exist places and mods that remember her though. And I realized, in that moment, staring at the clouds, that I didn't want Kate to be forgotten. She was a light which shined brightly, yet seen by so few. I wanted to carry her spirit. I wanted the world to know her, to know that she existed. And maybe like 500 people will watch this video, probably far less. But what matters is that this video exists at all. There's no way I could have never made this. It'd be a betrayal of myself to not share the existence of one of the most amazing people I'll never know. I forget things often, but I'll never forget Kate. And I hope you all won't either. Life needs to be celebrated. We never know what day will be our last, what our legacy will be and our impact on others. It's scary that our dreams and aspirations can be taken from us at any second. But that's why we should make every day matter. Kate Fox mattered to me in ways I can no longer remember. But while she may not have done anything that changed the world for everyone, she did for me and several others. She probably was one of the first reminders that truly nice and caring people exist in this world. Maybe we should all strive to be an adorable cutester that wants to make everything okay. As long as we can keep fighting for hope and making every day of life shine for us and others, we should. Forever, until